Hey everyone, and welcome to my video. What I have before me is actually the very first rifle that I purchased. This is also the first rifle that I competed with in a local rifle, practical rifle match, and I intend on using this rifle specifically every single rifle match going forward until it dies. This is the current iteration, and I just wanted to talk with you guys about a couple of choices that I made so far, and I need some help deciding on some changes going forward. During the intro, I showed some footage from one of the first ever practical rifle matches that I went to, local matches around me. And in that match, I was running a Romeo and Juliet magnified optic combo on this rifle right here. And it was in my first match during my first shot fired on the first stage that this optic died and was thrown away into a bag, never to be put on a rifle again. And to clarify, it wasn't exactly this specific optic. That one was sent back to Sig Sauer immediately as soon as I got home. And then they sent me this as a replacement about 2 weeks later. To their credit, it was relatively quick and I didn't have to pay a dime. But as you can see, this is no longer sitting on a rifle and is instead being used merely as a talking point. Right here, I have a Vortex Strike Eagle 1:6 LPVO. This is widely regarded as one of your best bang for buck options when trying to get into LPVOs. And as somebody that does local rifle matches, I figured this might be my best option. As routinely on stages, I'm seeing courses of fire spread out from 115, 120 yards inwards to within 15 yards. And so the added versatility of this optic was very appealing to me, and as you've probably seen in countless videos lately, for a lot of other people too. This was one of my first options when deciding what next optic to use for my local matches, and this is an aim-point carbine optic, not a pro, just a regular one. I was debating just using an unmagnified optic because hitting these targets out at 100 yards is pretty easy to do without magnification, and I figured something as robust and reliable as an aim-point carbine optic might be my best bet, considering my previous optic died in the first round. But for now, and for the next few thousand rounds, this LPVO will be staying on this rifle, and I'll be using it in the upcoming local match in about 2 weeks. I actually am getting a camera so I can record a POV for you guys, and I'll upload it to the channel. Adapting to an LPVO, however, has been a little bit more difficult, and I went into it completely blind. I saw countless videos talking about LPVOs. I basically just looked at the highlights and saw that everyone was talking about this bad boy right here, and I went along with it. One thing I'm trying to get used to is getting into the sight picture as efficiently as possible, getting the gun up, and in addition to that, this is the first time I've actually used a bipod. This right here is just the Magpul bipod using the M-LOK rail system, and I've already noticed that I'm having some issues. Given this is only day one and we're sub 1,000 rounds into this combo right here, but I went ahead and recorded some footage so I could go ahead and show you some of the struggles I'm kind of dealing with right now. One of the immediate struggles that I was having was actually installing the bipod itself. I don't know if it's just me or if it's my setup. Very well could just be a me thing, but as you can see, I have it on about splitting the second and third M-LOK slot here. I don't know how well you can see that, but mostly I've seen the bipods pushed up to the frontmost slot if possible. I wasn't able to do that as I have an adjustable gas block right here on the second slot, and I was finding it nearly impossible to get a flush seating with the M-LOK screws due to the gas block being just too much in the way. Now, I'm not sure how much of an issue it is to have the bipod this far back. Perhaps if it is an issue, please tell me, and I'll get maybe a larger handguard, because this is a 16-inch barrel, and I could probably fit another slot in there if I wanted to, and then maybe I could put the bipod in a better position. I did find, however, since it is this far back, I was able to have a more comfortable shooting experience if I extended the legs just a little bit, but that is probably the right thing to do anyways. My main concern with the bipod being in the position that it's in currently is when trying to put the rifle down onto barriers and such during a match, and I'm just guessing right now that this is going to be in the way already. So far I've only been able to zero in the rifle at a flat range and just using it off of a table. The tables at the ranges that I was shooting at, they're very slick, and so first time using a bipod, I'm trying to figure out exactly how much shoulder pressure I'm supposed to lean into it, but the more pressure I put into it to try to really engage, the more the rifle tend to slide on that slippery surface. So maybe I'm going to need like a Harris bipod or something, or maybe there's ways to make this a little bit more frictiony. I mentioned that I've only been able to zero the rifle so far, and I figured I could talk about the process of zeroing for me and how it was. To start, I'd like to establish that I chose a 100-yard zero for the LPVO. That's because, like I've said before, the matches I regularly see 115, 120-yard targets, and then inwards of 15 yards. Currently, it's just the LPVO, but I'm going to decide if I wanted to do maybe a 45 offset or 45-degree offset iron sights for backup, or maybe do a piggyback RMR on top of this potentially. I don't exactly need one of the other backup options for doing the close range targets as the LPVOs. As its name states, it's low power variable optics. I can crank it down to 1 power and it'd effectively be the same as a red dot sight. But I've noticed a lot of times in matches, myself and others included, when maneuvering from the long distance targets and then transitioning over into the short distance, they're finding themselves forgetting to have flipped back over to the 1x position, and they're having to find the reticle and flip it back over and wasting time essentially. So I've just decided, let's just take that out of the mix entirely, keep this at 6x for the matches, and then rely on one of the backup iron sights or piggybacked red dot sight for the close engagements. And that's really for like 30 yards inwards, because anything closer than 15 yards, you're just doing point firing anyways. In addition to everything you see here on the rifle, I do run a sling. This is a Magpul sling with some QD attachments. I personally like to run a sling in matches because during some of the transitions from like maybe shooting some long range targets, you'll have to get up, run a few yards. And I personally like having a sling when I'm maneuvering between and transitioning between these courses of fire, as there's a bit of awkwardness if you don't have a sling. You throw in the gun straight up and you can't go too far up, because if you're running, barrel goes too far backwards, you've just broke 180 and you are disqualified for shooting for the day. We want to avoid that as much as possible, so I like to have the sling it down, make sure it's pointed in the correct direction, and then use my whole body, turn and run, and head towards the target to make sure that I'm never breaking that 180 at any given point. Because if I'm facing that way, the barrel's facing that way, and I'm not trying to look at them, I'm looking at the targets. And to talk more about this setup, actually, the reason why I do bring up this in the video at all is this is the first rifle that I ever purchased, and I intend on shooting this in every single competition and match that I participate in until the bloody thing dies. And I'm going to be honest, there isn't anything particularly special about this rifle outside of it being the very first one that I bought. It's just a full Palmetto State Armory special. I got the entire thing on sale every step of the way. Upper, lower, receiver, all in, we're talking like sub $400, not even kidding. The lower is $90 on sale regularly. The upper was $279. That's a win. But I guess that's the main point of this video. This is a rifle that I'm taking from start to finish, hopefully, and I'm gonna record videos about its progress along the ways. This is its current, we'll call this version 2.0, given that it's had a few changes. It's in its second season, let's just say that, and very excited to share it with y'all. And to close the video, I recorded a few clips of the zeroing session that I had earlier today, so if you fancy a little bit of shooting, stick around.